Hey guys, Eugene here. Let's talk about some of my favorite effects and how they work. Just expanding on the last conversation that we had. Let's say I want to turn off effects, right? So I got my appearance here. I don't like this stuff anymore. I'm going to go back to something that's a default. In my graphic styles, I could just click and go back to the standard style really easily, just like that. By the way, just by default, whenever you draw anything, it does have an appearance. It just has it's a path with a stroke and a fill applied. You can have multiple strokes and multiple fills, but I'm not going to digress any further. Let's just go to effects, which we can access here, or we can access here. They're both the same thing. 3D is really cool. We'll get into that in the next couple of weeks. But Distorts and Transforms, my favorites, right? Free Distort, to me, is just a waste of time. Never, ever, ever use it. I think it's stupid. But that's how it works. All right, so let me delete these. I don't really want to look at these. I'll work at this square for a minute. Now, there are some cool ones in here. Another one in Free Distorts. Pucker and Bloat. Pucker and Bloat's interesting. Check this out. I'm going to draw a little circle for you. Hold down Shift. Now take a look at this guy. If I press Control Y, there's 4 anchor points here. I'm going to hold down Alt, make a copy, and go to Object, Path, and add anchor points. And now you'll see this has 4 anchor points, and this actually has 8. So watch how Pucker and Bloat works. I'll apply it to both of these actually. So if I go to Effect and Distort and Transform and Pucker and Bloat, look at the difference here. Now, if you want to see what's actually happening underneath the hood, all you have to do is expand the appearance on anything you've created. But see how these are both circles, but they're both behaving differently. So I'm going to press OK. I'll go to Object, Path, or not, I'll go to Object and Expand Appearance. That'll just turn these into regular old shapes. Now, if you look at them as regular old shapes, you'll start to understand what's happening here. There's still 4 anchor points, but all these have been converted to anchors with handles. Same thing over here. So we actually didn't get any more anchor points. We didn't get a whole bunch of new ones. Except for these guys. I guess we did get some. Now, I'm sorry, I just made myself a liar, but it did double up anchor points, but that's what it's doing. So this could be used for making flowers. I'll back up again. I don't use these very often, but I do think it's kind of cool. Again, Distort and Transform, Pucker and Bloat. You can push things out. Push out the anchors, or you can actually push them in. Get different effects. Alright, so I'm done with that. Look at some more distorts that are fun. Ruffin. Ruffin is pretty cool. Take a look at this. I'm applying it to both of them. It doesn't really matter, but size is going to actually push the anchors in and out. So see how some anchors went out and some anchors went in? Then detail is the number of anchors that are going to get added. How do I know these are anchors? You can make these smooth, you can make these corners. But how do I know they're anchors? Well, if you go to Object, I don't need that guy. Just Object and Expand Appearance. As you can see, these are just anchors that are pushed in, and some are pushed out. So that's what's happening right there. And it's kind of an unorganized mess. I've used that for like bullet holes or crazy hair, different things. That's Ruffin. Transform I never use. I'm not even going to get into it. This is my video on my favorite stuff. So, and you won't need this for the homework. Tweak is just silly. You know, it's just randomness to me. I never use tweak. Maybe I'll find a use for it one day. Twist is not going to do much with a circle, but it just does a pinwheel effect. You know, there's a pinwheel, like a spiral tool right in here if you want that effect. But if you did draw a rectangle or something like this and you went to Effect, Distort, and Twist, it would twist like a little worm. I never ever use this one. If I have, it's been years since the last time. So back to it. Distort and transform. Zigzag. Zigzag's actually the same thing as Ruffin. I'm surprised it's not beside Ruffin, except it's organized. And I do use this one. Specifically when I'm trying to make like a badge or something, or a sun. So size is going to push the anchors in and out, all in the same distance. And ridges per segment is just anchors. And yes, you can go smooth or you can go corner. So this is actually pretty handy. Those are all the distorts. Like I said, these are my favorites. Path, I use offsets all the time, just like the last video. Pathfinder, never use them. Rasterize, never do it. Stylize, definitely use this once in a while. You know, drop shadow, just going to add a drop shadow. And let me just say, don't apply dark drop shadows to dark colored objects. It looks silly. But I'm not going to get into the style right now. Obviously, you can adjust the offset. You can adjust the blur. Most of this is intuitive. You can turn the preview on and off. And blend modes affect how this looks. Right now, this is set to multiply, so it's going to burn into whatever's behind it. Same principles as Photoshop. When it comes to blend modes, which we'll get into at another time. Back to it. Very simple. We got feather. What is feather? Strange as it may sound, it really just takes the edge and makes it transparent. How do you know it's transparent, right? In fact, let me turn on stroke off. You can tell. Watch me just drag it out here. See? It's transparent. So that's what it does. It's opacity. That's what it is. Can't say I ever used that, you know. But maybe someday. Inner glow is just going to literally create an inner glow. And you saw me do this in a different video, but you can take this, make it stronger. And again, it's set to the blend mode screen. If you were to set it to multiply, it would actually burn in. You'd have to pick a darker color, but it actually would do an inner shadow. Sorry about that. All right, so back to it. Stylize, outer glow. I think you can figure that out. It's outer glow. Round corners is kind of interesting. If you had a box like this one and you went to Effect and round corners, it's going to round off the corners. Check that out. Which, if you just click this little circle right here, you can round the corners. So this is just an old tool. You don't really need it. I rarely need to use it, but there are situations where I have found it handy. In fact, I'll just demonstrate. Let's say that you tried to put to blend a couple boxes together, and you decided you wanted everything to be rounded at the end of this, you know. And this has happened to me, so I'm just showing you. But let's say this was your concept, right? And then you blended it all together with a shape builder tool, and you're happy with yourself. And then you decided, oh, I want this to be all the edges rounded. Well, you don't have those little circles there anymore because this is not a standard shape. I've modified it too much, so I can't adjust the corners anymore. So in a situation like this, you might actually use, not Scribble, sorry, but stylize round corners. And it rounds every single corner. Which will produce a result like that. Interesting, right? Okay, that's rounded corners. All these have applications. There's some reason they got created. I figured out some of them I haven't. You just, being aware of them is a big deal. Now, Scribble is interesting. I'll just let you guys mess with this, but basically you can make paths overlap, adjust the variation, adjust the thickness of the line. I'm not going to focus in on this a lot. I'll let you play with it. I don't want this video being super long. This part of the class is just to kind of build awareness of the effects panel and go over some of the great stuff. You might be wondering why I don't talk about these effects down here. Let me just give you one quick example. I'll drag this out here, right? Let's apply like film grain or something like that to this. You know, you have this dialog box here we're all familiar with. It looks just like the one in Photoshop. It just, I'm telling you though, it just does not behave the same way. It really doesn't. Let's say glass, for example. Look at the white edge they got created. It just looks garbagey. That's why I really don't promote this. Never have, and probably never will. And I've really never watched a video, and I've watched a lot of videos on people teaching Illustrator and had somebody saying how wonderful the effects, the Photoshop effects in Illustrator are. I say save it as a PDF, and if you want to apply effects and stuff to it, Photoshop style effects, rasterize it and do that stuff in Photoshop. All right, so that's my 2 cents, and that's just some talk about some of the effects that I really like. I hope you found this interesting. Thanks for listening.